Well, for more on this Workers' Day, we are joined by Cosatu's first Deputy President, Mr. Mike Shingange. Mr. Shingange, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. You hear the President of the African National Congress there saying today is Cosatu's day, and I think, you know, quite a strong wording there. But talk to me about whether or not the message from the President of the African National Congress strengthened Cosatu today, and highlights from what the President had to say, and then of course we'll analyse more of what he said as we continue with the conversation.
No, thank you very much, and good evening to you and your viewers. Of course, the message from the President of the ANC does strengthen. It's a message that we always expect, and I'm sure the leaders of the ANC that were deployed in various rallies today, because Cosatu had more than 9 rallies in the country today, would have said the same message. But as we always know, the question is always about the implementations and implementing and sticking true to that which we say when we see workers in the rallies. But the message was a correct message. We have always fought for the strong alliance. We have always fought for the ANC that understand that its core constituencies is the workers. We've always fought for the unity of the alliance. So we will watch and take it from there in terms of what today was presented by the President of the ANC and all the other leaders that were deployed across the country. But it's a good message. It's a message that we have always preached as Cosatu.
I'm noting how you said we have always fought for the strength of the alliance. The President saying that we want to see Cosatu working well with the ANC, the SACP and SANCO to strengthen the alliance. I mean, from Cosatu's point of view, as you reflect on the unity of that alliance on this here Workers' Day, how would you characterize it when you've got, for instance, an SACP that might very well go its own direction in competing for the elections? And then, of course, Cosatu, in many occasions, particularly in 2024, having raised the issue about the ANC not listening to it, especially after the May 2024 elections?
Look, I think it is important that we stay true to the day today. Today is a day of workers, an international day of workers. In other words, it should be about workers. And of course, because I represent Cosatu, also about Cosatu. And probably less about the politics and the alliance and the SACP and the ANC strong alliance. The point is about the workers came out today and they went to all the rallies. They celebrated that day. They celebrated that day understanding the terrain in which they are celebrating. Last year when we met, we were in the election campaign. As Cosatu, we were campaigning for the ANC. We know that the day after we had the May Day, one of the political parties that is currently in the government of national unity came to march to Cosatu House, declaring workers as enemy number 1 of the state and the people of South Africa for supporting the African National Congress. Today, they're in government of national unity. They're acting as both as a government, but as also as an opposition party. Today, workers were reflecting of the terrain in which they are now have to continue to struggle. We now know that next week we have to go to the court to defend the workers' right, particularly the Employment Equity Act that is now in court taken to by the Democratic Alliance. A month ago, the workers were on the street supporting the Minister of Health against the Democratic Alliance that was actually fighting against the National Health Insurance. And we now know that the teachers or the education sector was under siege from one of the government of national unity political partners against the Basic Labour Law Amendment Act. So these are the challenges that we were dealing with today. And whether is this alliance, whether it's the government of national unity, the workers have always had to fight, and in order to defend their rights. We coming to this May Day today, celebrating a victory of workers, particularly the municipal workers, who defeated government, not even the national government of national unity. When the government of the ANC wanted to disenfranchise 360,000 municipal workers from holding political positions of any political parties of their choice. We took this matter to Labour Court. We won. The government appealed. We went to the Constitutional Court. we're just trying. We've spent almost 6 million that we don't have to defend the rights of workers to exercise the political freedoms that is enshrined in the Constitution. So we're reflecting on those things today, and we're saying to workers, under the theme of the 14th National Congress, that says we must build a working class unity in order to liberate ourselves economically, but also to fight for the liberation of all other bondages, including fighting for socialism. So that's why what the call that we're making to our workers today. Politics, yes. I mean, President Ramaphosa knows himself that he's the one, for instance, his government, that took the workers to court on the collective bargaining. It is his government that took the workers to court on the right for them to hold political positions in political parties that of their choice. So we can talk about working with the ANC, we can talk about the strong alliance, which we all want. But the reality in front of us is that we had to defend ourselves against one of our own, is the alliance leader, which is the African National Congress. It's something that workers can't be oblivious of as things stand today.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm noting how you said that workers have always had to fight. So then I think about, all right, well, you've done so, pre-democratic South Africa, post-democratic South Africa, now GNU 2024, 2025 South Africa, as you put it. What is the adaptation that needs to happen in labor organizations in South Africa to continue to deal with the ever-changing challenges? I immediately think about not just the politics that you raise, but also the issue of, we're moving into the fourth industrial revolution, or are in the fourth industrial revolution. That is going to be an issue that continues to grow for workers in the country. What is the adaptation that's necessary from labor?
Look, first, in terms of adaptation, we must remember that the trade union movement, in particular Cosatu, existed, and including its predecessor, SACTU, which we are celebrating its 70 years anniversary this year, existed in the brutal regime of apartheid, a regime that did not recognize trade union movement. They did not want to register them. There was not even a Labor Relations Act. They fought. They survived. They assisted the liberation movement, alongside whom we had to fight to liberate this country, and then we achieved the freedom that we achieved in 1994. So the point is, trade union movement existed before 1994. They survived before 1994. They helped to work on the transformation agenda of the democratic forces in this country. We were part of the drafting of the policies that we thought are going to transform society from colonialism and apartheid into freedom and democracy. We drafted policies that are going to equalize, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the health sector, whether it's in the education sector, whether it's in society in general. We shouldn't be a country that is divided in terms of color, race, or gender, and so on and so on. We have survived alongside one of our allies that was now in government. We are now in the government of national unity. The trade union movements need to adapt, need to survive. And one of the things that assisted trade union movement to survive all these years, all these epochs, is their unity. Their collective unity, because the interest of the workers across the globe, irrespective of the countries, irrespective of the trade union you belong to, irrespective of the sector, the interests of the workers are the same. The system that oppresses workers is one system, and it is united globally. Therefore, workers need to be united globally, even across the federation. So that's what the adaptation we need. With regard to the fourth industrial revolution, it's a matter that before COVID-19, we have been seized with as a country and as trade union movement, as more and more of workers the work were being threatened. We were campaigning for a just transition that would going to see South Africa transit into a technological advancement, which advanced in human development, because we can't stop it, but in a pace and in a manner which we can control, that does not bring misery to the livelihoods of many communities and the workers. It must be at the pace of our own. We must have a reskilling. We must, as unions, as a country, as government, as departments, must make sure that workers are adaptive to the new terrain that we're coming in. So that's what the trade union movement is engaged with now. But more importantly is that we will know that workers are going to struggle in a terrain which they did not prepare for, a terrain that they are not familiar with. It's an uncharted terrain now. Government of national unity, government of coalitions, contestations about the lives of workers and the poor of this country. The trade union movement must not unite and ensure that we move forward to protect our rights and our interests. More important is not to reverse the gains that our 30 years of democracy have ushered since we attended in 1994.
I think that's a great place for us to close it. Thank you so much for your time. We truly do appreciate it. Mr. Mike Shingange, the First Deputy President of Cosatu, speaking to us on this Workers' Day.